faced him. In a breathy, accented voice, she said, "You are Dr. Emerson, I believe. I must see you and your parents at once." Somewhat taken aback by the title, which he had earned but never used, Ramses looked down at the face she had raised in entreaty. I could not make out her features, since she was heavily veiled. The veils were unrelieved black, as was her frock. It fit, in my opinion, rather too tightly to a voluptuously rounded figure. Short of prying her hands off his arm, Ramses had no choice but to lead her to the veranda. As soon as she was inside, she adjusted the black chiffon veils, exposing a countenance whose semblance of youth owed more to art than to nature. Her eyes were framed with kohl, and her full lips were skillfully tinted. Catching my eye, she lifted her chin in a practiced gesture that smoothed out the slight sagging of her throat. "I apologize for the intrusion. The matter is of some urgency. My name is Magda Petrick. I am the widow of Pringle Petrick. My life is threatened, and only you can save me." It was certainly the sort of introduction that captured one's attention. I invited Mrs. Petrick to take a chair and offered her a cup of tea. "Take your time," I said, for she was breathing quickly, and her face was flushed. She carried a heavy reticule, which she placed at her feet before she accepted the cup from Ramses. Leaning against the wall, his arms folded, Emerson studied her interestedly. Like myself, he had recognized the name. "Your husband was Pringle Petrick, the well-known collector?" he inquired. "I believe he passed away recently." "November of last year," she said. "A date that is engraved on my heart." She pressed her hand over that region of her person and launched, without further preamble, into the description I have already recorded. "He woke that morning from a feverish sleep. This is what killed him," she finished. Reaching into the bag, she withdrew a rectangular box painted with crude Egyptian symbols. "He had purchased it only a few weeks earlier, unaware that the curse of the long-dead owner yet clung to it." A long pause ensued, while we all tried to think of an appropriate response. It had occurred to me, as I feel sure it has occurred to the reader, that there was a certain literary air about her narrative, but even Emerson was not rude enough to inform a recently bereaved widow that she was either lying or demented. "If I may ask," Ramses said after a while, "how is it that you were able to describe his death so, in such vivid detail? He was, that is to say, he was dead, wasn't he?" "He lingered for a while," said Mrs. Pringle Petrick composedly. "Oh," said Ramses. Nefret, who had been staring fixedly at Mrs. Petrick, said, "Forgive me, but your face is familiar. Aren't you Magda, Countess von Ormond, the novelist?" Aha, I thought. That explains the accent. According to her publicity releases, the Countess came from a noble Hungarian family. She had fled that country during the upheaval of the World War. The lady's mouth opened in a wide, pleased smile. "You have read my books. I will be happy to sign the ones you have with you." "I didn't bring any with me," said Nefret, her expression bland as cream. "I saw you several years ago at a literary luncheon in London. At that time, I believe, you weren't married." "My dear Pringle and I became one only a year before his dreadful death. And now," she continued, "the curse has fallen upon me. Twice I have beheld that grim black figure, and my intuition tells me that the third time will mean my death. Take it, I beg you." She thrust the box at Ramses. Eyeing it askance, he stepped back. I took it, and was about to lift the lid when Mrs. Petrick let out a ladylike screech. "Don't open it. I never want to see that evil little face again." "Am I to understand," I inquired, "that you are passing the curse on to us?" But you are experienced in dealing with such things, Mrs. Petherick exclaimed, rolling her black-rimmed eyes. You can do it safely. You have done it before. I have heard the stories. The stories to which she referred were lurid newspaper articles, many of them written by our journalist friend, Kevin O'Connell, though in every case the purported curse had been proved false, and the evils attributed to it had been found to be caused by a human criminal. Many readers remembered the sensational theories and ignored the rational explanations. If the woman actually believed we could cancel curses and defeat evil spirits, she had to be acquitted of deliberate malice. The children would soon be joining us, and I did not want their juvenile imaginations stirred up by such nonsense. I was about to suggest to Mrs. Petherick that she tie a stone to the confounded thing and toss it in the Nile, when Emerson cleared his throat. His saphirine eyes were bright, and his handsomely tanned face bore an expression of amiable concern. Curse it, I thought. Very well, he said. You may leave it with us, madam. I will take care of the matter. Mrs. Petherick leaned back in her chair, ignoring Emerson's hint. What are you going to do? Return it to the tomb from which it was stolen? That might prove a trifle difficult, Ramses said, with a critical look at his father. If, as I assume, it was purchased on the antiquities market, there's little hope of tracing the original thief and finding out where he obtained it. Said Emerson, giving his son an equally critical look. You know my methods, Ramses. Rest assured, madam, that you need not give the matter another thought. Good day to you. This dismissal was too direct to ignore. Mrs. Petherick rose to her feet, but made one more attempt to prolong the conversation. It killed my dog, too, she offered. My poor little pug. He choked and twitched and was gone, just like that. Fatima, seeing that we had a guest, had managed to detain the children, but I could hear them expostulating in their high-pitched voices. Emerson heard them too. He got Mrs. Petherick to the door of the veranda, but not before she had told us where she was staying, and had asked to be informed when the curse had been officially lifted. She added, with an air of complacency quite at variance from her initial distress, Perhaps I should participate in the ceremony. That will not be necessary, said Emerson, shoving the lady into her carriage and motioning the driver to proceed. Really, Emerson, I said, what ceremony? You made no promise, but your failure to deny her suggestion was a tacit... Well, what else could I have done? Emerson demanded. The woman was in considerable distress. Her mind will now be at ease. Oh, bah, I said. Are you familiar with the literary, I use the word loosely, works of Countess von Ormond? Good God, no, said Emerson. I've read some of them, Nefret said. The Vampire's Kiss was her first. All her novels are about vampires and curses and hauntings. Quite, I said. I suspect that the vivacious account of her husband's death was the first paragraph of her next novel. She means to use us and our questionable reputation with the newspapers in order to get publicity. I understand that her sales have been falling off. The later books aren't nearly as entertaining as the first 4 or 5, Nefret said critically. They were really quite good. I had to leave the light on all night while I was reading Sons of the Werewolf. Good Gad, Emerson exclaimed. I'd no idea you indulged in such trash, Nefret. Peabody, why did you let her? I do not believe in censoring the reading material of adult persons, Emerson. In fact, it would be a question of the pot and the kettle, said Emerson. Your penchant for sensational novels like those of Rider Haggard. Which you also read on the sly, I retorted. Hypocrisy does not become you, Emerson. To return to the point, I do not intend to allow the woman to make use of us. I will return that object to her tomorrow, unopened, with a stiff note. Not unopened, said Emerson. Aren't you even a trifle curious about the accursed object? It is only a crude wooden box, Emerson, not even ancient. Ah, said Emerson, but what is inside the box? Your analysis of the lady's motives may be accurate, my dear, but it overlooks one interesting fact. Petherick was a wealthy, discriminating collector.